Question 2. So a solar panel company, meSolar Inc., has set out a time frame of 2 years for breaking even on their trial product. So the company expects to have a capacity of 500,000 units during the 2-year time frame. Okay, so this is important. So we have a time frame of 2 years. Okay, so we have a capacity of 500,000 units in those 2 years. Okay, so let's keep reading. So for the entire 2-year time frame, okay, so meSolar expects to take on a loan with interest included. Okay, so we have a loan with already interest included in it, so we don't have to calculate anything. So that's 1.5 million. Okay, so that's going to be a fixed cost, okay, because it won't change during that 2-year time frame. Okay, the lease on the new factory and machinery for the production of this product will cost the company $10,000 per each month of the operation. Okay, so well, lease and machinery, so 10,000. So that's another fixed cost. However, okay, so notice that it's each month. And for 2 years, so I'm going to just do it here on the side. So because it's 2 years, then we have, so that's 24 months, okay, times 10,000. All right, so that's something we have to keep in mind that we will have. Okay, so now next. The chief financial officer of the company has estimated that the variable cost, okay, so variable cost on raw materials needed, so variable cost is 120. Additional service and administration costs per panel will be 35. Okay, so this is another variable cost here because it's per panel. So the chief executive officer for the company has concluded by receiving a report from you that each panel on the market can sell. Okay, so that is the selling price. Okay, so now I guess we have everything. So find the algebraic equation for the total revenue and total cost. All right, well, so total revenue, so I'm going to just do it here. So total revenue, okay, so that one is much simpler because all we have is 580, okay, times the volume of sales. Now, total cost is going to be a little different. So our total cost equals, so we have, so fixed costs that we have, okay, so we have two fixed costs. We have the 1.5 million, and then we have this, 24 times 10,000. Okay, so that is, so I'll do that in brackets. So this is 1.5 million. Okay, plus, and that is the 24 times 10,000 that we have to take into account. So when you multiply that, well, 24 times 10 is 240. Okay, so that is our fixed cost. Okay, and plus our variable cost. So that was 120, that's right here, plus 35. Okay, and then that's times X. So if I write it out, so I'm going to write it down here. Okay, so, and I can now multiply everything and add. So 1740 so that's our fixed cost plus the variable cost. And that gives me now, so this is my total revenue. This will be my total cost that I need. Okay, so that is that first part A. Okay, so part B. So for part B, so we have contribution margin and contribution rate. So contribution margin equals our selling price, so 580 minus, okay, our variable cost. This is all per item, per one item, which is going to equal 425. So these values are in dollars, of course. Now, contribution rate. So contribution rate is the contribution margin. So that's 425 divided by our selling price, which is 580. And this is supposed to be in percent. So that equals, so we can punch that in to the calculator, and I'll round it to one decimal. Whoops. So we have, okay, so 73.3%. Okay, so that is our contribution margin, and this is our contribution rate. So that's part B. Now, part C, compute the break-even point in units. Okay, so break-even point in units. So for this one, so part C, so break-even in units. So we can either equate total revenue to total cost and solve for X, or we can just use the formula, which is fixed costs divided by our contribution margin, since we have that. So substituting this in and then dividing, so that will give us, okay, so if you punch this into the calculator, so 409, okay, 4.11, but of course we're going to be rounding, so I'm going to round up, okay, units, okay, because we can't break down the units, okay, and we want to have them as a whole. So that is the break-even point in units. Now, part D says to calculate it in dollars. So we have in dollars. Okay, so that to get in dollars. So break-even in dollars equals. So we'll take the total revenue, okay, function, and we have to calculate it at X, which is at break even. So when we put that in, that's actually going to be quite a bit. Okay, so that is our break even point in dollars. So over $2 million, 375,000, okay, and 100. So that is D. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so now E, draw the break-even chart. Okay, so before I do that, okay, so I'm going to do that on a little bit later. Let me take a look at F here. So F says explain if the venture is worth pursuing. Okay, well, this is not a yes or no because it depends. Their capacity, so if we go back here, capacity was actually quite a lot. Okay, so it was that. So if you are answering this, then you have to keep in mind, okay, so how do you want to answer it? If it's just financially, because you don't know any other information, so I guess for F, I'll say yes, financially. Okay, so it is worth it because notice that your break even is much, much smaller than your capacity. So you still have a lot of room to make a profit. Okay, so in that case, yes, it is. I mean, if there's some other way this company's trying to do something else, then maybe be a different answer. But for this one, that's what I'll stick to. Okay, so now we want to draw the break-even chart. Okay, so for the break-even chart, okay, so I'm gonna just scroll here. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is, okay, so I'm gonna remove this just so that I have some space. Okay, so, and then I'm gonna do our chart. Actually, maybe what I'll do is I'll do this. Okay, so let's take a clean page and draw the chart here. Okay, so we have, so let's say that's my Y. Okay, so this is my dollar value. Okay, so they said to label all these. This is my, okay, so my X. Now my capacity is actually quite big. So that is capacity. Okay, so I'm going to just draw a line here because we can't pass capacity. And now we have, okay, so let's take a look. So our total revenue that we had. Okay, so we'll start from 0 and then it goes off. All right, so we'll do it this way. Okay, so that is total revenue that we have. I'll leave it in blue. And then, so our fixed cost is quite a bit. So that was 1740, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's fixed costs. Now, variable costs are still rising. However, they're not rising that fast. Okay, so we have something like this. That would be my total cost. And this point is the break even. Okay, and the break even was that. Okay, so now we have our chart. Okay, and so here, okay, so that's a loss. And this would be, so all of this, okay, would be a profit. Okay, so the difference between the total revenue and total cost. And that's it for this example.